Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Noise, where we try to get past the surface information and try to give you some things that we can take home and use, and then wash, rinse, dry, and reuse. Really excited today. I have my guy back. I have UNT's own High Point Real Estate's chief. We have Mr. Anthony Shelton in the building, and today we're going to have a great conversation about relationships. But before we do that, I must introduce the round-faced Mexican girl. Grace, what's going on today?
Nothing.
Caught Rachel in the middle of drinking a whole bunch of water, not paying attention to anything that's going on. She's over there on the ones and twos. My mic sound nice. So she's going to make sure that everybody is listening and paying attention. I think we're starting the show today with a couple of questions. So what is one question that we have, Grace, before we dive right into this whole relationship situation?
The first one is, what fundamental characteristic do you bring to every relationship? And then the second question is, what's important to you that people give in a relationship?
So I want everybody in the audience, if you're listening, type in those answers. We really want to know. We're going to get into a great conversation about people credit or relationships. I think that's important because I found that over the past couple of months, Anthony, it seems to me, sir, that many of us as Americans firmly believe we have actually worked for everything we've gotten, and we grinded, and everybody started from whatever, and if you work hard and you just have faith and continue to work hard, you will and can reach your dreams. And I think that attitude brings us to a bit of an attitude of entitlement sometimes, because we didn't really work for everything we had.
Right.
You know, so I want to start with you. Like you and I, we built a relationship literally as running into each other as neighbors.
Yeah.
So from that, talk to the people how we got to this point, and then let's just go into it.
Man, yeah, like you said, ran into each other as neighbors, and started talking, and I think when we started talking, we started to notice that we had a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And from a mindset perspective, from a business perspective, and we started to really push the envelope on the relationship piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, that relationship has grown and built and been strengthened. And now we're looking at each other like brothers. It's like my brother from another mother.
No doubt.
So.
Well, what's important to you, like when you're dealing in people, because you sell homes and you sell commercial real estate, and you still shaking hands, kissing babies is super important. Because I'm in the service business, so I deal with people's kids. We do training, we do sports. It's certain things I have to always be. I have to be honest in the information and the evaluation, and then I have to really understand that the relationship is more important than the other things that go along with the business or the decisions or the conversation. I have to take into consideration other people's feelings and attitude, and even the money they're spending for the service they're asking for,
right,
beyond the phone call or an email.
Right.
So in that space, how did you build your situation? Was it built on being able to sell? Was it built on the ability to communicate? How'd that work out?
I think the cornerstone for me was integrity first, integrity and character.
What's that mean?
With the integrity piece of it, making sure that, if I said I was going to do something and I was going to do that, make sure that, I was always going to be truthful, upfront, and honest, whether good or bad, about any decision or any question that they may ask me, or any particular place that they're asking me, or they want to purchase or look to rent a space or anything along those lines, and even really, taking, business off of it. Just in general, because I wanted to work on that relationship, and I tell my guys all the time that we're in the people business. Mm-hmm. We just happen to help them, go through a buying process, go through a selling process, go through a real estate transaction, but ultimately they're there because of the relationship they have with you.
How do people become your friend?
Man, I get that. I get everybody always asks me that. I get that a lot. And I always say to myself, I always start that by just being a friendly, approachable person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, once we start doing that, the friendship, and the relationship kind of, builds over time, just like, everybody else. And whether it's, someone I went to, high school with, college with, or somebody I've just, meet tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
it's always some of those core foundations is, I try to connect with them in areas I know that there's a lot of similarities, and I don't really major on the differences.
What do you bring to the friendship? Like when you're courting somebody, and I use the word court loosely because I mean business, friendship or relationship, with a significant other. How does somebody become your friend?
Well, I mean, like I said, I said earlier, bringing that integrity, bringing
Mm-hmm.
that, bringing the knowledge. So from a business perspective, and being
Mm-hmm.
able to run a business, being able to bring, knowledge of a market, how to look at different markets, and how to make just really informed decisions that's going to, benefit them 5, 6,
Mm-hmm.
7 years down the road. And I think when you have that fiduciary duty to say, you know what, I'm going to put, any agenda that I have, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to help them win. Then we all win as a team, because there's just no way that you're going to win and I'm not going to win. Like, we're going to win together if I set out with the right, mindset and views that, hey, I'm going to put you in a position to win. Then, it's going to be tough for us not to win as well.
Grace, so how does somebody become Grace's friend? What do you do? Because Gracie is smiley and excited, and her energy is always on the up and up, unless it's not. But I mean, that's because we all go through some things sometimes. But how does somebody become Grace's friend?
I have a lot of acquaintances, I would say, and then friend-wise, I have to see that you're reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't require the same reciprocated, because I'm a very helpful person.
Mm-hmm.
You can call me and I'll come help you or pick you up or fold your clothes.
But why do you do that? Like, why do you do that?
I don't
Like-
know. I like serving others.
Really? Are you a helpful person, Anthony?
You have to be.
Really?
You have to be.
But why are you helpful to other people? I'm asking because I'm gonna tell you why I help other people. I help for a very selfish reason.
Okay.
So, but why?
Because, like I said earlier, when it comes to, putting your agenda to the side, and
Mhm.
I know that I can help you, then I know at the end of the day, if there's any agenda that I could have, if I'm really honestly helping you,
Mhm.
I'm gonna help myself. And I think that's where it starts, when you put your own personal feelings and agendas and that is aside. Say, you know what, I'm here to help them accomplish A, B, C, and D. And at the end of the day, if we're able to do that, then that's success, and that's a win for me.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I help people for a very selfish reason. This is the truth. It's really do unto others as you have them do unto you. No, but it's bigger than that. I don't do it because the Bible's. I do it because the Bible says do it.
Right.
But I do it literally because if I were in that situation, and I would really want somebody to help me. For example, man, I was at the QT, almost at work, almost at PE, almost at the facility, and it was a dude. He was driving a U-Haul, right? And you know how that little road is when you're coming off of the QT. You got the little ramp into the little doctor's area, and you're going to the QT. Well, he ran out of gas, and imagine running out of gas in the U-Haul. So he tried to let it coast in, and it got stuck on the deal. He hits the brake. I'm the third car, so it's a car coming in behind him. It's 2 cars in front of me coming out of the QT parking lot, and I'm behind him. One of them skirts around, the other one blows the horn. So I throw mine in a park, and I'm not saying it's like I'm some kind of hero. I run out of there to go help him push the thing out of the car. The only reason I did it because I was like, if I figure if we get him out the road, all of us can go. Right. But if I was sitting there, I wouldn't want people blowing at me. I wouldn't want, like, won't you get out and help me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I help people literally. I don't expect anything back from that person.
Right.
I just expect that if I was ever in a situation, because I've helped enough people, we would do more than take pictures of me in that situation.
Correct, but
You know what I'm saying?
Right, and that goes back to what I said earlier. That's a character trait. You know, you have that character. If you're a character person, then a character person is going to get out and say, you know what, and I don't am my character person. I'm also a leader. This is the solution. Let me jump out and go try to help them push and go.
Yeah, let's get this answer done so we can all get back to what we're doing.
Correct.
and not create a worse scenario.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like people getting in car accidents and everybody driving around the people getting out of the car. Like, I've never understood that. Like, these people need help, and the quicker we help them, the quicker everybody can move around and move on. But more importantly, if my mama was out there, I would really want somebody to help. So
absolutely,
that's how I approach my friendships and my business relationships. And sometimes it doesn't work out for me, and sometimes we got miscommunication, and sometimes it just falls apart. But when I walk away from it, I want them to be able to know that although that didn't work, or although we don't agree with this, or although this ain't the way it is, or maybe we had a serious falling out,
right.
You ain't gotta hate me. Like, we can sustain a quality relationship and be able to be at least cordial, or at least honest with our anger. You know what I'm saying?
And why would you not?
Well, because it's hard to be honest with people, man. Like, it's hard to be honest with people.
But if they walk away from that situation, whether it's a failed business relationship or a personal relationship, and they walk away with that that unnecessary weight, how are you supposed to fly with that? Can't fly with that. So you have to lay that down, whether you talk to that person one-on-one or however you do it. You can't take that baggage, that weight into the next business relationship, personal relationship, or if you say, I'm out here trying to do something great, positive, and I'm seeking greatness in my business or relationship, you're not going to be able to fly with that weight. And I think I've seen so many people carry so much unnecessary weight or baggage into, different situations, and they wonder why they're maybe not getting the results that they. I'm probably a little deep here, but I was just talking about this to some friends, and she didn't really understand why she's not getting the results that she thought that she should be getting. She's put forth the hard work. She's brilliant, but at the end of the day, it's tough to run with a 20-pound weighted vest on your back, as I do. I mean, we're a whole lot faster without the shoulder pads and helmet than what we do. So you can't fly with the unnecessary weight. So for sure.
Right. Great. So you got any answers to the questions over there?
Yeah. Kalandra put reliability is important, and then Paul Robinson said authenticity.
When we say authenticity, you're talking about consistently being who you are.
Absolutely.
Another thing, in order to understand a relationship, you got to understand where you fit. And then some of us have a hard time knowing who we are, so it's hard to know where we fit. And then you got people like me who takes a direction, runs with it, and I'm all the way right until somebody shows me I'm wrong.
Right.
And that hinders relationships. That hinders, just friendships. It also hinders relationship with your significant other.
Absolutely.
So how do you maneuver through that? Because we're not all going to make everybody happy. That, to me, that's not about friendship and relationship. I like people who can tell me where I stand with them,
right,
and tell me if my stance is strong or not. Right. I've learned that I don't need to agree with everybody, but there are certain things that it would be hard for us to be around each other or be cordial with each other if there are certain morals or standards or beliefs you don't have.
Correct.
Is that part of how you bring in things you bring in a relationship?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there are some non-negotiables. Whether it's racism or treating people the wrong way. Those type of things, regardless of if it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, like those are things we're just not going to do.
Right.
That we're just not. That's not how I operate. I'm not trying to get over on anyone. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on anyone. Mm-hmm. Like we just don't. I don't even govern myself. That way. Mm-hmm. So if those intangibles and those character traits are there, everything else. Everything else is going to take care of itself if I know going into it that this is a character person. He or she is a true leader. we can work through any other differences that we may have, and then we can also continue to align our vision. And the vision may be, hey, look, we're trying to get over here. Okay, well, it's going to take A, B, C, and D to get there. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get there. So,
man, you said something powerful. I really would like the people in the crowd. I've been thinking about this because this is the topic of today, and I've learned that a lot of people we thought we were friends with, or friends thought they were friends with us, we don't agree. But I want to know. I would like everybody to define. Give me a definition of racism, because I am thoroughly convinced there are many people in America that don't know the true definition of racism. Racism is not based in a disagreement based in color. It is about oppression, and usually oppression of a minority group, or to try to inflict supremacy.
There you go.
Onto a group of people based on their race or color.
Correct.
So a lot of things we're calling racism is not racism, and we're losing relationships behind that.
Right.
So if the people in the crowd, Grace, are you getting any definitions for racism out there?
Not yet, no.
And then how would you define, because Webster defines racism the way we just did. It's about oppression, and it's about oppression towards specific minority groups.
Yes.
Based in the act or action of supremacy, or to hold them down simply because of their race. So to call somebody something, or to not agree with somebody, not give somebody a job, it's not necessarily because they was white and you didn't get the job because you was black, or vice versa. It's racist. We're losing friends and relationships behind that. So when you say racism, what are the traits and elements to that will sever a relationship?
And with your definition, you hit a home run. I think anytime you were to look at someone, whether they're the same race or opposite race, with that look or feel of that you're better than them, or I'm superior, based on skin tones, culture, sexual orientation, social economic status, any of those things, that's when you begin to
get into isms.
Absolutely, get into isms and start pushing them, pushing people away, or creating different groups that is going to actually cause tension, social unrest, and just those those tough feelings, because it's tough. Those are obviously those are the tough conversations that I think there's four people that in our communities that need to get together and sit at a round table and talk about these tough things. And that's your spiritual leaders, that's your elected officials, that's your community leaders, and pop in my mind here as well. So and your community leaders, if I haven't said that. So I think by them sitting at the table, your corporate leaders. Your corporate leaders. So I think with all of them sitting at the table and talking about how do we tackle this issue and have these tough conversations, now's the time. We can't run from it.
I don't think that's gonna happen, bro. And
it has to.
But I don't think it will. And I'll tell you what. We don't all have the same agenda. We really don't. And I think it's important that we really pay attention to that. I'm gonna be honest, because we can say elected officials, but if elected officials aren't trying to get the same thing us as the common folk are trying to get, it doesn't matter. They're passing bills right now that all we do is argue about. We have no say in it. Really think about that. In a democracy, and now we're standing on two sides of the fence with not a clear understanding of what's actually going on in those rooms, and it's affecting us in relationships. Because some of us are one issue, we look at one issue, and some of us are so hell-bent on our own beliefs that we can't actually hear the truth. And I learned that when you get your information to the person closest to you, it's hard to shake that, because you trust you trust the informant, not necessarily the information.
Right.
So I think common folk need to get in that room. We need to make some demands in the direction we want to go with, this great nation that we talk about.
Correct, and I think if we have the right elected, and that's why the power of the vote. We need to elect some people in there who's going to, for us to get an opportunity to have a seat at that table. Right, it may never happen, but I think that's the way we're going to happen. That's the only way we're going to be able to move the ball forward and make some real change. Just because, again, like I said earlier, there's a lot of common core things that. It's very black and white. Again, we can go back and forth on this bill and that bill, but I think when it comes to racism or discrimination, all those things are wrong. We go out and list those things. I think everybody in here will agree 100%. It should be a unanimous vote that all these things are wrong. If those things are wrong, then we can push it to the side. So, okay, now that's the even playing field. We all agree that nothing that we do, nothing that we say, no bill that we put into place is going to violate those, and we can move forward. But it's still a tough conversation. It's tough times, and I think a lot of reform is going to have to come from that in order to make some true change.
I'm here with Anthony Shelton of High Point Real Estate, high level, one of the top real estate organizations right here in the DFW. You have 33 agents, and based out of South Lake, and you're selling houses left and right. So if anybody looking for somewhere to be, somewhere to go, somewhere to put their head down, if you look any further than Mr. Shelton, then you have looked too far. Grace, so
Yes.
what you got over there?
Okay, Jasmine tuned in. She said it's happening in cities. I assume it's relative to racism. It's happening in cities here and there. It's just not being televised. It helps if the millions of people who are of age and eligible will vote in local elections.
Okay, so when we talk about voting, you can talk to your friend. One thing I do. Go ahead.
There's one more, and then Pamela Wright said, in response to the racism question, racism is when people treat others unfairly. This can be knowingly or unknowingly. It is often so ingrained that you have to be aware of the subtlety of which it is inflicted upon you.
Absolutely. And I think it happens based in not, taking into consideration other people's experiences.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I got a friend named Josh Robertson. Shout out to Josh. I hope he's listening. And Josh and I are having a hard time with the divide of ideal understanding. Josh has been my friend since first grade. Josh is a white dude from Mississippi.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to have race conversations with him because he sees Greg. So he's always treated Greg and Greg's family and all the kids in the neighborhood and his kids with an air of respect and understanding, regardless of color, regardless of their parents are, regardless of those things. So he runs into race issues because he's white.
Right.
But I'm trying to find out how to communicate with him that there are things that you have never done and things that you will never understand that happens to me and you on a day-to-day basis. But because he's not racist, because he's not prejudiced, because he thinks rationally,
Right.
That doesn't seem real. Like some of the experiences that if I were to share with him, it would be hard to believe. Now, I've been knowing Josh literally, first grade, how old are you, 6 in the first grade? What's that, 35 years? And I've never really had conversations about prejudice and racism and the use of the N-word and, oppression and being mistreated because I'm black. I need to, so he can have clarity on why sometimes people misrepresent him.
Right.
But how do you do that? Because these are my friends. Like, this is my guy. His kids, I look after tomorrow. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So how do you do that?
Well, I think the first way you can do that is by, either breaking bread with them or sitting on the other side of the table and just having a conversation. You already have a relationship with him, and that's huge because it's different. Because at times that can get blurred a little bit because he has the relationship with him. Well, Greg, I've always seen you as this and this,
right?
But here's where it gets a little bit different. Let's say somebody else from maybe another neighborhood, they don't have a relationship with
his kids.
Now they see you as something else,
Mhm.
or they don't know you as, oh, this is great. He will give me the shirt off his back,
Right,
or he'll
right,
give me
right.
the shoes. So it starts there. It starts with that relationship. I think anytime we can sit down, with other people from other cultures and nationalities, religions, sexual orientations, and just have, a basic conversation. Because there's a lot of things when it comes to racism that we make the assumption that, hey, they were taught not to do these things or not to say these things at home.
Right.
And that may or may not happen. So with us being able to say, hey, look, this is what racism looks like, or these are some of the experiences that I've been through, especially when you have a relationship with them, well, maybe now that starts to open up their eyes a little bit. And they're like, okay, well, maybe I can start looking for that, or I'll never understand how that feels. However, I'm here to support you, and what can I do to push the envelope to make sure that, we can start weeding a lot of this stuff out. And it's tough.
When you was a kid, how many, like let's say did you have a lot of friends when you was in like elementary school and junior high?
Yeah.
Why?
I think, because I came off as friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to make sure I had a lot of friends, and people just genuinely just gravitated toward me. I think that was just one of the unique giftings that God has given me. But people just genuinely do that, and I think sports open up a lot of those doors as well, and it removed a lot of those barriers, because just like you said, like, hey, they saw me as he's a talented football player, or he plays on the team with me, so there was always some type of commonality that we had attached to it, and which helped the relationship grow over the years. And I don't think they were looking at me from that standpoint as, hey, he's black and I'm white.
Right. Gracie, what's the common word used when people describe you? Like, what's the word that if somebody just met you, they've been knowing you for 10 years, they've been knowing you for 10 minutes, what's the thing that people say, oh, Gracie, she is out. What is
She's
it?
so nice.
She's so nice. Okay. What's the common thing that you get called, Anthony, whenever people, describe you to other people, or whenever they introduce you?
Man, I get probably, he's just genuine.
Yeah.
He's just down to earth. Like, he's easy to talk to him. Like, I can, he understood where I was coming from, or he's just genuine, and I can talk to him, and I can open up and share whatever it is that they want to share, if they're able to do that.
What's the thing that you've been described as that you're absolutely not?
Man.
The thing that just, that you're not that, and when people have described you.
Unprofessional.
Give me an example.
Unprofessional with whether it's a character, or whether I carry myself from a character standpoint, the way I treat people, even the people that has done me just absolutely wrong, I still stay there. Because there's a level of professionalism, there's a level of character and integrity that I remain.
How do you do that? How do you keep that emotion from overtaking the action?
Because it's who I am. And I know when that situation, when the going gets tough, I just always cater to who am I. And in the back of my mind, I can hear my mom say, you remember, dude, this is who you are. And I run with that, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of challenging times. I go to who I am, because if I can go to who I am, because I have personally developed, put in hours and hours of personal development on my personal side to be the best version of myself that I can, that I always cater to.
Well, how did you do that? Like, how does one, because we live in a world of outside stimuli. Like, we spend so much time, we meaning all of us, like we got our attention here, we're reading this, we're paying attention to these kids. So our mind is always on the first step, second step basis. And then by the time you get a chance to sit with yourself, you're tired or you're hungry or you got to get ready for the next day. So it's constant. But I think that the COVID situation and the things going on in the world gave at least some of us a few moments to sit down.
Correct.
I'm literally discovering who I am. I've known who I wasn't. It's so easy for us to figure out who we're not.
Right.
But what kind of things do you do or did you do to figure out who you were? And this is for everybody, because some people meditate. Some people have to go through something extremely stressful. Some people have a moment of clarity or bliss. Some people have a family, and then they sit down. But what are the things you do, or that you notice you had to figure out, come to grips with the person you are, so you can be better in relationship to other people?
Man, first things I started, it's a combination of all those things you said, but first things first, I wanted to make sure I was okay with being alone, which means
What does that
man,
mean?
that's powerful. That's
Wow.
powerful right there. Because I think before you can do or be anything for anybody else, you have to know who you are. And I think by you taking time to to stop any outside noise, you want to be able to control your own thoughts and take time to listen to yourself, to meditate, to maybe read, work out. Whether it's I ride my bike. I mean, I did 15. I do 15 to 20 miles every time I get on that bike. So it's those type of things. Work out, run. I mean, everybody has something that they do to say, let me spend at least an hour a day, for me. And let me make sure so I can be better for everybody else, because no different than when you're on the airplane, they tell you if something were to get shaky, they need you to put your mask on first. And if you don't put your mask on first, you can't help anybody else out. So I think a lot of people are so scared to be alone, and they got to have something going, whether it's being around people or on social media, and we have all these other devices and distractions that people just don't take the time to build themselves.
You said that we're kind of scared to be alone. What people have have said those things to me, and it's hard for them to concentrate on themselves for any period of time. Right. It's like this. So why do you think that is, and how did you get past that?
I think a lot of them it's the fear. They were just scared. They're just absolutely scared to take time to find out what they like, what they don't like, what direction they want their lives to go to, what goals do they have. I mean, you start asking, some people some of those questions, and they kind of look at you like a deer in the headlights, or like, because they haven't really sat down and thought about those things.
Fear of what though?
Just fear.
Responsibility?
Well, for responsibility, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. I mean, there's a lot of fears that they say, I can't be alone, or I can't take the time to build, who I need to be. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not. And you're also doing, especially if you're in the public space like I am, you're doing yourself a disservice, because, are you your best version of yourself to be able to go out and pour yourself out every single day? And if you pour yourself out every day, what are you doing to refill yourself?
Absolutely. Man, I've been told
to fill that cup up.
Quite a bit. Because see, one thing I used to believe in is that I don't want to be a burden to anybody. And the more I kept saying it, the more I kept finding myself being a burden to everybody.
What you focus on expands.
Man, I'm talking about I can do a lot of things. I just don't want to be a burden. And I ended up stressing people out. People trying to help me help others, and I just ended up having to literally sit with myself. And it's not always comfortable, but I'm always okay with me. That's the difference. I've never not been okay with me, and I've also had a clear understanding of maybe not always who I was, but what I didn't want, and what I wasn't.
Right.
And I think a lot of us focus on what we aren't. So when people say we are this or are that, it's easy to defend that, but we don't really know who we are, what we believe, or what this thing is about. And when we start finding that out, it's scary. What you got? Because you just unplugged everything and took everybody offline, and we don't know where the people are. Is anybody still on?
Yes, there's a lot of people.
I was going to say, it sounded like you just unplugged it all.
No, I was plugging it in so it wouldn't die.
But and we so smooth that we
just kept on
rolling.
Keep
on.
Get over yourself. I'm done. Okay, so you have actually quite a few things said since last. So the first two comments that Jasmine put, she was referencing to people getting together at the table and working things out.
Right on.
And then you had two other responses to a racism question. Racism, from the view of Paul Robinson, is a systematic structure that's created to control minority group advancement, controlling narratives on one-sided bias, control of literature and media facets, having power to control economic, political views, etc. The main thing in reference to black people taking away culture, our God, relationship, and history, and basically stealing and getting credit for being forefathers.
Stop right there.
Wait.
Okay, because I wanted to comment on that.
Okay, you can, but let me finish because there's a lot going on, and it's still going. So, and then James Cochran put racism as simply demeaning a group of people based on their supposed race. Personally, I feel that a person is a racist when they intend to demean others, not just if they unknowingly demean others. If they have learned to treat people unfairly from a small child, they will think that this treatment is okay. They harbor no ill will behind it, but this doesn't make it okay. And then you asked what's something that people have called you that you're not. Jasmine put a B word.
That is correct. And you know what? And I was, yes.
And she put, I am not that. Or when they're being, I'm not sure what PC stands for, but she said
Politically correct.
Okay, there you go.
Angry black woman.
Yes.
And then James put, they need to change, but they also need to be confronted with the truth. If they refuse to change, then they are racist.
See, I disagree with James. And I'll tell you why. Because demeaning a person because of race, you can just be clowning. But oppressing, like Paul hit it right on the head. Because what he said was fact, not feeling. Correct. And those facts are from the beginning of black Africans getting to America and becoming African Americans. See, again, I say this all the time, and this is for my friends. When I get online and I make statements, if you notice any of my statements, they're usually what they question or based on experience. So we have to understand that racism has a purpose, and it's not about hurting feelings. It's about withholding information in order to control a situation because you're a minority. So if, like, to say somebody has privilege is inconceivably misunderstood when it comes to racism, or to call somebody a name based on their action has nothing to do with racism. So I think people, if we take a step back and understand that if we root ourselves in justice and we look at our friends for the person they are, not for the color they are, but see their color, racism gets limited. I say again, racist or racist, bro. Racist or racist. But what justice does, it puts a lid on the actions of racism.
It's supposed to.
You know, but we're losing friendships behind a misunderstanding of our friends' actions. I really believe that.
Has a good example of a different point of view that people don't understand. She is telling the story. I was sitting in a workshop watching a white man go in on the leader and nobody said a word.
That's racism.
I had a discussion with the leader in response to a question he asked, specifically wanting to discuss alternative viewpoints. And when I explained myself, the room full of white people called me mean. I was confused, then angry, then I threw my hands up. And then Yvette Parker put, the whole dilemma is people not accepting that people have differences and still treat them as human. You don't have to like me or agree with me, just respect that I'm a human being.
Absolutely.
With that said,
character.
I'm gonna make a statement. I want you guys' input. That is rooted in, like, again, to all my friends of all colors. This is not my opinion. This is not how I feel. What she said is rooted into the fabric of America because we were not people.
Facts.
By law and by purchases and by receipts, we were not folks. So my friends, we are defending racist activity by certain people, and maybe we're not racist, but in a relationship, I think the number one thing, and I had to learn this the hard way, the number one each party can do is just shut up and listen. Regardless if you agree, disagree, if you feel them or not, but don't wait to talk. That way we can at least hear the truth, or hear the lie, or hear the point of view, and then we can make our own decision without trying to convince.
Correct.
I've learned that if I don't try to convince people, there's a air of respect we have, and we can enter into a relationship whether we agree or disagree.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I agree. I think it's going to take a whole lot of listening before a lot of talking. I think a lot of people, they just want to come to the table, just talk. I think right now, let's listen.
Yeah.
Let's listen to a bunch of viewpoints, not just African American viewpoints. Let's look at the Hispanic community. Let's listen to every community out there. And I think after we do a good job of listening to get a senses on you know, hey, this is the same, you know, fundamental topics that I'm hearing across the
We're
board.
all gonna find out we all want the same stuff.
Absolutely.
We all want
Let's
the same
tackle
stuff.
let's tackle this tough issue. And how do we do that? We come together, sitting at that table, and we tackle that issue, and then we do the same thing again. We listen again, and we tackle that, and we kind of go from there to where we have, you know, we make, you know, a lot of movement, and we're pushing the ball forward, and everything we're doing is positive and going forward to make tomorrow a better place for our kids and grandkids and things like that. I think it's going to take the right leadership,
Mm-hmm.
the right character leaders, I put it to you that way, to sit at this table who have the relationships
Mm-hmm.
and influence
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have those conversations and then say, okay, this is what's going to happen next. This, and this.
So let's speak specifically. Let's talk about masks. Okay. No, see, I want people to chime in on this, right? I want to talk about masks, right? Because there are a lot of opinions out there on this. Now, I do my best to stay away from opinion, but I have relationships with people who firmly believe in wearing the mask. That's why I wear it.
Right.
Because if I got a friend who's elderly, right, and he's listening to the I don't care if he's listening to the doctors or listening to his pastor. If he come to me and be like, look,
He could be listening to Dr. Dre.
yeah, I don't give a damn. I do care about this. Like, look, G, here's the thing. I really believe this, and this.
Right.
As a favor to me, when you're around me, could you wear your mask? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because I ain't being violated in any kind of way. As a matter of fact, I would literally want somebody to do the same thing for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like if you walk into PE, you have to wear a mask. That's the mandate.
Right.
Now, I'm a big fan of my people, right? So if somebody come in there yelling, screaming, and cussing at my people, I want to take up for my people.
Relationship.
Now, I really don't. Now, the rest of it is just what it is. Doctors, politicians, whatever. But if Anthony said, hey, G, you know, my mama, she might be this, and you come in, you mind like, man, not at all, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I see that, because that's important to me as far as relationships go.
Well, it goes back to the story you talked about earlier about the guy in the U-Haul. You know, you jumped out to make his life better and easier. And I think when you're a character person and somebody comes up and says, hey, I feel more comfortable you wearing it because of, and they ain't really got to go into detail, whether they got the underlying issue or whatever. If they just said that, then all right, cool, done, mask off, let's go, you know, keep it going. Because again, I'm operating and doing things outside of myself, and it's about, you know, again, if you're there to make the public better and serve the public, and you're going to be a true. So I mean, if you break down, I'm a Christian, and you know, if you look at Jesus, this guy, you know, all the things that Jesus did in his 3 years, you know, walking around on earth, all the miracles, yet he was the one washing his disciples' feet. He was big on service. So we
all want to go to heaven without grace. We all want to work out because we work so hard. You know what I'm saying? And we don't care about these relationships. We grinding it out, and whoever gets stepped on, we stepped on. But you know, we talk about, you know, Jesus and the Bible and all the good things he did. But you know what? I noticed that in all of the miracles, he never got kicked out.
Never.
Because he just, you do unto others, somebody look out for.
Absolutely. And I mean, and I know that, like, and what everything that he did, everything he was given, he always made it better when he handed it back. I mean, no matter what it was, you know, whether he did, if the lady who touched the hem of his garment, she got better. You know, the fish. I mean, I go down the story of things that everything that Jesus did, he was not here, you know, showing any type of character issues, and it's crazy because the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which is ultimately the ones who crucified him, they was spitting on him, mocking him, put the crown. They treated him bad.
But they were right though. they were right, and all their homeboys was there, right? Mm-hmm. So let's get into that now. Regardless of what you believe or who you believe, we're telling the story as it is in the Bible. Right. Now, you know, your belief is your belief.
Correct.
But you know what I think about, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I know I ain't the only one that's ever thought about this, right? We're talking about relationships and the way you treat people and stuff like that. If we stay away from our esoteric thoughts of what we've been told, Jesus got beat up and crucified, but with his 12 homies there, and a couple of them like, yo, I don't know that dude. I don't know that dude. Now imagine if they'd have just took up for him. that would have been a different day. He still might have got crucified, but it'd have been a different day. He'd have known who was down with it. I say all the time, man, everybody can talk about fighting, but you don't know who can fight until they're fighting.
Absolutely.
And you don't know who will fight until it's time to fight. So we had 12 disciples. Now, if I got 12, I don't know what Grace is doing at that. I mean, I have no idea what's going on over there.
What is going on?
Good night. But if it's we homeboys and 12 or 11 my partners with me,
right,
and I'm taking this whooping, I'm looking at y'all like, bro,
y'all gonna let me do this?
Y'all gonna let it be like this? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm really big on that. I really believe that, if we're gonna talk about what we believe and where we stand, I honestly think a lot of us spend more time knowing what we're not about, what we don't want. So we fight hard not to get caught into that situation instead of working diligently to be who we are so we can be better.
But when you're comfortable in your own skin and you know who you are, you can come to me and say anything that you want to say, and at the end of the day, it's going to go in one ear out the other, and I'm just going to smile and stay professional, keep it moving, because that's who I am, because I put in that time.
I put
in that time. You got to put in that. It's like you got to put in time to be great or do anything.
Yeah.
I put in that time to personally develop myself. So you come up to me and I've heard it all, and I just kind of smile and laugh and just keep moving forward. And not only that, thanks for the cut, appreciate it. I'm gonna keep it moving and keep going because I know who I am. And when you have that foundational backing and background and foundation that you can stand on, there's no way you can shake me because I know who I am. You can say anything you want to say. I know exactly who I am.
I also learned that I had to be shown who I was by people who disagreed with me, and I had to be willing to listen to the disagreement instead of fighting against it. Because I fight against it until I'm like, man, you know what? 3 people have said this about me. I might want to look into this. Try to do something about that. Grace, so what you got?
Nothing really. Paul Robinson said, I follow rules and respected wanting my rules to be respected and followed. A lot of people talk shanola in safe places.
There ain't no doubt about it. Like I said earlier, man, we don't know who fighting until it's fight time.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And then you get to find out who you're around, and we dismiss it sometimes because we do have an agenda, or we want to believe something in that person. Or it's like I say all the time, a thief is a thief. So keep your hands in your pockets. Right. I always trip out when people are like, I can't believe he stole from me. No. You should have believed they were going to take from you too. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to pay attention to who other people aren't according to who we keep around. And I think we're finding that out. A lot of us say the country is divided. The country is divided. I look at it different. I just think people are choosing sides.
Correct.
And it might not necessarily be division. It might just be understanding of where you fit in certain belief system and on your lines. If you believe in justice, you feel like the same crime should get the same consequences, regardless of your situation.
Correct.
If you believe in equality, you think the start line should be the same according to the rules.
Right.
If you believe in fair, I believe in fair. Then according to what's given and what's put in, that's where you start, and everybody should be able to understand. Everybody's rules should be the same. That's fair. So, for example, we got 2 hoop squads, bro, and I want to know your thought process on that. We got 2 hoop squads. We play on the same size court, same size rims. We got the same officials. They're neutral, but all my cats are 6'5" and above, and your cats are between 5'11" and 6'4". Hey, man. It ain't equal, but it's fair.
Yeah.
You might want to go pick some better players.
Absolutely.
You know?
we need to get some 6'8", 6'9" in
Yeah,
there.
you better get them in there.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to look over there and be like, you go, man, my guys ain't tall enough, so they can't play unless they get shorter guys. Nah, man, that's not how it works.
No, it's not how it works.
So, what you got, Grace?
Okay, so earlier in the conversation, when Jasmine told her story, Leah Mason
Leah Side.
put a question on here that said, if a white person in the room stood up for Jasmine, what would that look like without making her feel like, as a white person, needed to protect her or make her feel like she needs us? Can you give a narrative that would make her feel defended and more empowered?
She might not need to feel defended. Jasmine, jump in on this. It's not about defense. It's about understanding and the voice being heard. See, Jasmine clearly understands that the reason her voice was muted is because she's a black woman. But I also know in my own experiences, I can say something in the room and nobody hears. I can give those words to somebody that's a white dude or that looks like everybody else in the room, and every word will be listened to. You know, that's that understanding. So, Leah, the thing to do is first hear what's being said and then speak in honesty, not necessarily in defense of, but in honesty, and the honesty will defend the point, not the person. See, for me, I try not to lead with emotion. For me, it's important to lead with the point. And then that's very offensive to people because they might not have answers, and then it shakes foundations. Because it's not an agreement with it, and now you have to go find the answer to the question that I asked you. Like, why do you feel that way? Well, I just feel like, you ain't got no backbone on that, you ain't got no foundation in that, then I don't have any words for you. Or where'd you get that information? Where was that source? So do you check your people in your relationships? Or is it hard to check them because not everybody takes information the way you get it?
I think, for me, the biggest things when I have a relationship, whether business, personal, is, I go back to, like I said earlier, I'm checking out what type of character person you are, because if I know the character is there, everything else is going to come, with that, because there is going to come a point in business or personal relationship where we're going to have a disagreement, and we're going to see an issue two separate ways. And I actually like that, because now, the more ways we look at that issue, the better we can tackle that issue, because we're coming from all different angles and support that, and I think, by being surrounded by, some of the people that I'm surrounded, is for me, it's beneficial. I got a chance to learn from them. I got a chance to see their perspective. I got a chance to listen and hear them, every single one of their perspectives, and they do the same for me. And when you have that type of oversight, we make sure whatever issue that we're tackling, it's addressed and it's heard, appreciated and endorsed, and we move forward from there.
What's important, and what's important to you at this stage in your life, in your business at High Point? You guys are doing pretty well. You're selling houses. You got your reputation it speaks for itself, because you're not selling one bedroom, one bathroom. You sell quality $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $750,000 homes in very nice neighborhoods, and people call you, right? What's important to you as far as relationships go? Like, what are the things that you have an expectation of from people, and that people should expect from you?
Honesty.
You expect honesty.
It's normal, man.
I don't expect it.
Gotta have that. We can't be on the same page if I don't. If we're going, how can two walk together unless they agree? And I think with that honesty, saying, hey, look, I'm trying to get from here to there. I can help you do that if you're honest. Okay, so let me say it better, because I do agree, but I'm asking transparency or like just divulging information. Because see, I want to make sure we because to me, there's a difference between giving facts and telling the truth. Right. There's a difference between, being transparent in what you're looking for and being honest about what's going on. Like, because you can be honest and it might not work out. Everybody get mad. But if you're transparent, I don't care how you feel, we know how to maneuver. Correct. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. If we're saying the same thing, I think you're right. I think for me, the thing is transparency. Like, if you tell me what you want off the rip, it's so much easier for the rest of us. It is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we have agendas. I got agendas with all my friends. Some I just want to hang out with. Some, they a little bit cool to hang out with. Some I like to bounce things off of. Some can point me in different directions. So my expectations from my friends are different from my expectations of people who work with me or for me. But the root of those expectations are always the same: transparency. Right. Like, just if you can't make it, say you can't make it. Like, if you plan to make it, say you plan to make it. But if you tell me on Thursday you're going to be there on Saturday, and then you tell me Friday night, I have to you weren't transparent. Like, why didn't you just say that?
because you didn't want to hurt my feelings, or you didn't want me to think you could. I don't understand that. So for me, it's transparency of what's expected and what you can do or what you can't do. You know, it's not necessarily just doing what you say, because sometimes you can't do what you say at that time.
For the most part, right? But for the most part, but again, if you built a brand of integrity and you know, carrying yourself a certain way and making sure that, you know, when you do speak, that you honor you know, what you said you're going to do, or you're going to really truly do what, you know, you said you're going to do, that speaks volumes to you. And people, you know, they buy into that, they appreciate that, and they know that, hey, I can count on this person. You know, he said he's going to do this, this, and this, and he did just that, this, that, and that, and that's good.
Have you ever been unfair in a relationship? Any kind?
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah.
I
know I have.
Absolutely.
And you know, you learn from that, because we don't all do great things to everybody. But is there anything that has ever happened to you? Have you been hurt in a relationship?
Oh, absolutely.
As to where you will never go, like, you won't even try that experience again based on what happened?
I mean, I tried with that particular person because
No, just the experience. I've never tried with that person.
The person, yeah. That, I wouldn't. No, I don't think I've ever been where I won't, you know, try it again. No,
really?
Yeah, I think I'll make sure that, hey, look, we tried to, you know, set this structure in place with this individual. This individual didn't do this, that, and the other, or left me in a bad spot. Then, you know, it's because it's one piece that's missing. So we remove that particular person, put another true leader in there, and that makes everything, you know, go forward. So I can't be afraid of the growth, or, you know, to say, hey, look, that didn't work. Let me try, go back and redo it. I mean, no different than anything in life. I mean, how many times I done, you know, went to the basketball court and my shots just wasn't falling, but I came back the next day to continue to work on it, continue to try to get better, and you take that approach to it. So.
Okay, so good people credit is important. So I'm gonna end with this question, and it's kind of a hard question.
Wait, before you ask any more questions,
Okay.
there's quite a few that went on.
Okay.
Okay, so earlier, Yvette Parker put, "Don't let anyone define who you are is the key. At the end of the day, it's my soul. I've been beat down by black and white. Life is not hard. People make life hard." And then to wrap up Jasmine's story about what happened to her in that room, she said the leader, who was a white man, handled it beautifully. He was basically like, "Hey, y'all can be quiet while we hold this discussion and I participate in the conversation that I elicited." Leah put that she understood your response and that she was learning listening. And then Jasmine also responded to an aftermath of the instance. "I later talked to my roommate, who's white, about why the exchange was so problematic because she couldn't see it at first. Some good things came from it." And then Yvette Parker responds to, I believe, the entire thread. "I'm with Too Short. Be intelligent when you put them in check. Sources are very important. Take the emotions out. I've definitely found that to be important." And then Paul Robinson, "Most folks don't have the capacity to understand, and the sooner people understand that, you won't take it personally."
Shout out to Yvette and Teresa Parker. Shout out to Teresa. I know
Paul as well.
You know, that's my girl, Teresa, and I've known her for a long time. Sweetheart.
And then lastly, Jasmine put, "In response to Paul, right, with some folks you're spending time, with others you're wasting it. It's vital to be able to figure out the difference."
Which leads me to the last question. How perfect was that? Go
Right.
with it.
And real quick, I want to ask the question, you know, to those guys too, is, you know, how much time per day do they spend with themselves?
Boom. Jasmine spends a lot of time with herself, so she can fuss at the rest of the world, but I know that's my sister.
Because you got to take time for yourself. You got to build yourself up. You build yourself up. That gives you the foundation to build upon. And your question,
man, y'all, that was so beautiful. I got 2 minutes. So, Gracie, we're gonna start with you, and then the people in the crowd. It can be one word, it can be a phrase, but even when we go off the air, I'm gonna read them. What is the thing in your relationships that people have pointed out that you either are still trying to, have had a hard time doing, or just learned how to let go? What can you let go of? What have you let go of that has made your relationships better? Is it an attitude? Is it an action? What is the thing that you, for example, I had to let go of my intelligence overriding other people's feelings. I had to take the way other people feel in consideration. So I had to let go of me outsmarting the way a person feels. That sucked. What did you have to let go of?
The expectation that the way I treat people is what I can get back.
Wow. From that person.
Yeah, like
I got
friend.
it. Yeah. So if you treat somebody one way and they treat you like crap, you had to let go of the fact you may not get back from that person the way you treat them.
Yeah, because
we all
I
go
get
through
my
it.
feelings hurt easily.
And I had to learn how to consider other people's feelings, no matter how right I thought I was.
And I'm with her. Expectations. Totally let them go. Because I expect me to treat you a certain way, and regardless if I get it back or not, it's not about you. It's about me. This is who I am. So I'm gonna treat you here, even though I'm only getting it here, and keep it moving forward.
With that, I would like everybody to put their responses in there, and if you can learn that thing about yourself and let that thing go, you'll be better to the people around you, you'll be better to your enemies, and more importantly, you'll be better to the people that are important to you. Thanks again for another episode of Beyond the Noise. I got my man Anthony Shelton with us. He'll be back. The round-faced Mexican girl is with us. She'll be back, and we'll see you guys next Monday. I know it is. You know.